Hi there, BookTube. It's Roz. And when I read a new or newish book that I really enjoy, I'll always try and share it with you and let you know if it might be one that you might also enjoy reading, or if you have, to share thoughts about it, because it's always fun to hear from someone else who's read a book that you enjoy. Now, today I'm going to tell you just a tiny bit, a mini review of I Gave You Eyes and You Look Towards Darkness by Irene Solà. Do look at that cover while I've got it up here. Do you see the women in it, and the trees and the wolves? Gives you a bit of a hint of what's to come inside the pages. She is a Catalan author. Do you know where Catalonia is? I bet you do if you're European. You might not if you're from another part of the world. If you think of the sort of Spanish, the Iberian Peninsula, Catalonia is sort of top right, borders, has the Pyrenees to the north of it, the Mediterranean Sea to the right, just above it is France, and it has its own language and a strong sort of quite separate historic identity, I guess, from as regions of Spain sometimes do. And the language Catalan is sort of, it's a bit like Spanish, it's a bit like French, but it's its own thing. Okay, so she wrote this, or it was published in Catalan in 2023, and the translation is by Faye Lethem, and it was published in the UK June 2025, so still fresh and shiny. It is a superbly odd and deliciously subversive short novel that I'd like to really sort of warmly recommend to those of you that enjoy the deliciously odd and the, superbly subversive. It's set in an old farmhouse, up in the sort of the hilly, mountainous hinterland of Catalonia. So this is not the Catalonia of, glamorous Shishi Barcelona, or, the sun and sand of the Costa Brava. This is a rural, mountainous, poor and remote part of Barcelona. This is a book of ghosts and wolves and stories, and also histories. The frame of the book is a single day, and this is the last day in the life of a very old woman, almost like she's slowly dying, I suppose, on this day. But in the course of hearing about that day, we actually go back and forth between 7 generations of women in this family that are all linked to Mas Clavel, the farmhouse. As a reader, you spend a lot of time in this book sort of entranced but slightly befuddled, I suppose, because you're trying to work out who's alive and who's actually, who's dead. They're all still living in this house, but which are the ghosts and which are the real people? What's going on? What period are we in? Don't panic, though. It does gradually play out. And I had to keep like a little note of the character names and eventually fit them together in like a kind of a family tree so I could, but that was just me. You wouldn't need to do that. You just let it flow and all will become clear, I suppose, is the answer to that. But things ravel and unravel all the way through the book. And whilst we get the story of those 7 generations of women, and whilst we sort of deal with the supernatural and the stories and all the weirdness, in which the devil plays a key role. He is a key character in this book, the devil. But we also get moments when the lives of the people living in this farmhouse sort of intersect with key moments, I suppose, in Spanish or Catalan history. So things like the Spanish Civil War or World War II, or that they're affected by those events and things. People turn up in red berets, and you think, oh, who are they? And you get a sense of, well, it happens out of time and in time, and you can work out what that time is. It has a very distinctive writing style, and I think that Faye Lethem did an extraordinarily good job of translating Irene Solà's writing, because it's so distinctive in its translation, and I felt like I was getting a flavour of the original in Catalan. One of the things that she does is it's funny and grotesque, but quite deadpan. She doesn't sort of, hideous things happen. Oh, if you have trouble with, animal cruelty, don't read it. I know there are people out there that seem to find that, intolerable in the book. So I'll just say that so that, you don't accuse me of not having given you the warning. But yeah, gruesome things happen to people and animals and groups and so on. But it's not melodramatic, I suppose, in how that's told. Instead, what she does is we get incredibly detailed and specific physical, kind of like visual descriptions. And I think this probably is linked to the fact that she's also a visual artist. It's something about that, it's her way of seeing things and of telling stories. But what that brilliantly allows her to do is that we can, when we see things that are in the present day in this house, the one day that we're following, through the eyes of the ghosts, and they talk about them, they sort of describe them in these very literal ways, and that works and doesn't feel, anachronistic. But we realise that, what they're talking about is a microwave, say, the present day. They see a present day person, looking at this sort of silver mirror, and it's actually, and talking to it, and it's actually a mobile phone. It works. It's so clever, and it works. Who is this book for? Anyone who likes a bit of kind of horror. I mean, it's not classic horror, but it's sort of, there's a bit of body horror, I suppose, about it. I'm never quite sure what that means, but it seems to be how people describe it these days. But it's a book that creates a whole world and a sort of a family saga in 150 pages. So, what more could you ask? And I would say a perfect book for Shorty September, which is what we're in at the moment.